Oh,
Susan. Nice to see you.
nice to see you. How are you tonight?
I'm doing great. How is everybody doing?
I think we're doing good. Springtime is almost here. We're all loving that for a change, so that's a good thing.
Yes,
For
I
those
hope
of
people are
you,
warming up.
yeah, exactly. For those of you who might not know who Mary Esther Gilbert is, she's an amazing woman. I took a little bio off you, and I had trouble because there were so many good things to say about you. So I'm going to do my best to give you justice. So Mary Esther Gilbert integrates the science and ancient arts of botanical medicine, nutritional healing, holistic fitness, energy healing, and the emotional freedom technique. She has a bachelor and a master of science degree in holistic nutrition and a bachelor degree in nutrition science. She has over 40 years of experience as a nutrition science, physiology, and alternative medicine researcher and writer. She enjoys working with a wide variety of clients as a nutritional healing specialist, fitness and holistic lifestyle consultant. She's the corporate nutritionist for APL Go and author of Potent Superfoods for Long Life True Health. You can see mine is well tabbed. I absolutely love this book. And what I really love about you is that you're just such an incredible resource on all the ingredients of APL Go. You have an amazing wealth and she has an amazing knowledge about the drops, how they work, and most importantly, the positive impact they have on the body. And I'm super excited to host this call with you because you are talking about one of my very favorite kits.
I know this is going to be interesting having to do two kits in one night. Boy, that was a challenge, but we'll get
Well,
through it.
yeah, we're trying to come up with all the questions is like, wow. All right, where do we even begin here? So,
Those were those were great questions, by the way. I appreciate that.
oh, good. I'm glad. I'm glad.
Yeah.
I took a lot of time thinking about them because this kit, I think that this kit is such, everybody needs to be on it. And I hope, and I know tonight you're going to let everybody know why. And the fact that it's going to go on sale is even better. So because we've got such limited time, let's dig right in and let me give you our first question. So unless there's anything else you wanted to say before we get going.
No, let's just get right into it. I'm looking forward to that.
Okay, so the first question tonight is, what is body detoxification and how does the body detoxify? Like, what are the pathways of elimination the body uses to get rid of toxicity?
Okay, now we're going to spend a couple of minutes on this question because it's really a two-part question, right, Susan?
It is.
So, what I like to do is I like to give people a visual of their own physiology, right? Because how can we know what we're doing for our bodies if we don't have an idea of what it looks like on the inside, right?
Absolutely.
So, I'm going to go over a few of the things that causes the body to become toxic, and then I'll show all the eliminative channels in the body. How's that?
That's great.
Okay, so let me go ahead and share screen. I need to maximize this window in order to do that. Okay, you should see my screen.
We do.
Okay, great. All right, so we're going to go over the MLS and the HPR, and they go hand in hand. And going through all of the scientific research this week to pull out the things that apply to detoxification and maintaining all things related to the liver and other organs, how the body gets rid of things, how the body handles things, and even stress chemicals the body produces. So we're going to go over all that kind of stuff. Okay.
That's
All
great.
right.
Mary
So,
Esther, why don't I get you to zoom out completely? See if you can zoom your screen out. We can see some of your background. It might be nice if we zoom out and give everybody a little more chance to see. There you go.
okay.
Perfect. Thanks.
Is
That's
that
great.
better? Okay. I was going to do the read thing, but then I could never get out of it. But yeah, this should be good. All right. So, all right. So detoxification is just a normal process the body undergoes all the time, even if you're not exposed to toxic chemicals, which unfortunately we all are. And, we have the immune system always policing, as well as the hormonal system regulating, stopping and starting all these processes. And of course, they can't do anything without the nervous system sending signals. So they all work together. And so, it's just to eliminate all these different foreign substances that get in the body and start circulating and cause trouble. And so a lot of them end up in the body's fat deposits, and that could be under the skin, around the visceral organs. It could be along the spinal cord fluids and even in joint fluids. It could be in the brain cells. The brain has a lot of fatty matter in it. So that's where they end up. Things like chemicals, pesticides, herbicides, anything synthetic that we use in the house, industrial chemicals we might have exposure to in the workplace, ingredients in body care products, cosmetics. I think everyone by now is pretty much aware of, what's all in that kind of thing. And then we've got all these, toxic chemical particulates that are in the atmosphere that are put there either on purpose or by accident or just indifferently, right? Pollutants in the soil, water sources, industrial runoff, all that. Now, tobacco, alcohol, unfortunately, people like their wine, but yes, it is an alcohol, even though it has some substances that help detox. It's more of an alcohol than anything else. So those all destroy the body and reduce the functioning of all those body systems. And then, of course, we've got prescription drug residues in our water sources. That's been proven. And then we've got, of course, if we eat seafood these days, they have been exposed to all these toxic chemicals that are in the ocean as well. It gets in their tissues and people fish them out and they eat them. So they get toxic chemicals in their bodies that way. All right. So all these biochemicals, they're going around, they're called free radicals, at the atomic level, they're missing electrons. They're trying to scavenge for more electrons in healthy tissues and cells. So they're always stealing from the body. So, they're produced under all these different physical and psychological or emotional problems, stress that is, and they create a whole chain reaction of inflammatory responses. They have long-term, all these degenerative physical and even psychological health effects because it affects the hormonal system and the glands that regulate our emotions. So, things like toxic emotions, stress reactions, this is all like a fight or flight response. Doesn't have to be running from a lion or anything out in the jungle. If you're exposed to stress in the workplace or with interactions with people, then that long-term production of stress chemicals in the body is going to affect our health as well. All right, so anything like internalized anger or grief, anxieties, things like that, we have to manage our stress. And we have to be highly nourished in order to be to have the anti-inflammatory and anti-free radical components in our diet every day. And so I thought I would show you a little bit about the brain and where these deep-seated emotions, come from. The hypothalamus is the gland that regulates the emotions and how we perceive things and things like that. This is a little box that I thought I'd throw in just to explain about the nervous system. I'm not going to read the whole thing to you. This will be on my website. I always post these PDFs after every call on the website. But down at the bottom, I wanted to make sure people did get this, So after the danger's passed, we've got these residual effects. The cortisol levels do fall because that's one of the stress chemicals that the body produces. And then you've got this chronic presence of these cortisol levels, residually in the body. And they have been found to increase blood pressure and damage the blood vessels because of all the constriction of the arteries and all these biochemical processes that happen under stress that damage the arteries. And of course, that's going to lead to heart attacks and stroke risks and things like that. But they ultimately cause the buildup of fat tissue stores as well. So high cortisol levels cause the body to store more body fat, because in a stress response, the body will burn fat for quick energy. That's no way to lose weight, by the way, but yeah, we dip into our fat stores when we're in this flight or fight response. So anyway, I thought I would throw that in there for people. But then another thing is the inflammatory responses because of the results of all this stress, damaged organs and tissues, prolonged nutrient deficiencies, distorted molecules is what I call, foods that are like fast food, processed foods, destructive cooking methods. And then, of course, physical injuries causes a lot of inflammatory responses, and then fatigue and muscle soreness, things like that. So we really have to watch our antioxidant intake to get rid of those toxic things that the body produces under stress. And then we've got all these things the body's always trying to eliminate, and to get rid of all of these old spent cells that the body doesn't need anymore and has already used up. So it breaks them apart and it allows the body to eliminate them. And I'll discuss the eliminative organs in a moment here. So, that's another way that we need to make sure we're cleansing and detoxifying just by normal dietary, healthy lifestyle kind of thing, drinking water, and just managing our stress so that our body can get rid of all of these toxicity things that are residual effects as a result of all of this. So also, if a person is not taking care of their body and they're not nourished very well, then they're more subject to cell abnormalities. So our cells are always replicating, our DNA needs to replicate itself, and the mother cell has to pass on those kinds of genetic codes to the new forming cell, and things can go terribly wrong there. So we've got these mutations going on, abnormal cell growths can develop, that kind of thing. So the body is really up against a lot, and all we have to do is nourish it properly.
Yeah, it sounds like we are on attack on every level. Not only is our own body trying to do things, but just the whole outside world, no matter what you talk about, is coming at us.
Yes, we are exposed to, the last count was like, 10,000 chemicals every day. And I know I've said this before, that newborns, last time I've checked, was about 200 chemicals in their little bodies when they're born with, because it's passed on to, because of the fatty tissues, it's passed on to the next generation. So I think it's been a cumulative effect over many generations since we've been using all these synthetic chemicals, and stress levels have gone up so much. So I know I shake my head too, Susan. So in answer to the second part of your question, pathways of elimination, we've got 5 major eliminative channels in the body. And the lymph system is just I'm going to enlarge this a little bit even further so we can all see it. It might be a little blurry though if I enlarge it. But this shows the other circulatory system in the body, the other vessels that circulate white blood cells and, all these immunities and detoxification pathways will go through these nodes, and actually it could get stuck there. Sometimes people have swollen lymph nodes, chemicals get stuck there. So it's a detox process. Once they go to a cleansed diet, then those things usually resolve themselves. And I'll explain why too. This is really exciting how the body does that. So anyway, we've got all these different glands, right? And all these different nodes all over the body. Basically, wherever a person sweats, that's where the nodes are. Sweating is actually good. It helps, detoxify those little nodes and helps increase the circulatory system. So that's one of the detoxing avenues the body has. And we also have the kidneys, so it's important to drink plenty of purified spring water so that these little pathways get flushed out. And if you have, very strong smelling urine, then you need to drink more water, because your kidneys are processing all the solutes, all the things that needs to be eliminated, but they have to go through the kidneys in order to do that. So we have to keep flushing them out by drinking plenty of water. So that's another thing. And then the lungs are also a detoxification pathway. We inhale a lot of particles and they can get stuck in the bronchioles, but the first place to catch them are the mucous membranes in the nose, of course. So if you're outside and you have to blow your nose a lot, just be glad, because you're getting rid of all those things that could have gotten into your body this way. So we want to keep those air passages clear, and that requires, again, the right nutrition. Down here, let's see, this is the very outskirts of the bronchi, right? And they've enlarged it here, and these little alveoli, they are the ones, this is where the oxygen exchange takes place. We breathe in the air, but in order to oxygenate the blood, it has to go through these tiny little, they look like little grape clusters before they enter the bloodstream. So this is really important to keep those clear as well. And of course, there's the intestine. We've got to make sure we've got plenty of fiber and plenty of water and all these vitamins and minerals and phytonutrient compounds that are prevalent in the drops to help cleanse all of these intestinal areas down here. So that's another way to detox. And finally, the integumentary system is the skin. So, there's a lot of microcirculation going on beneath the surface. We've got fat deposits as well, glands that produce, sweat glands and oil glands and hair follicles. All of those require a flushing out and a cleansing kind of diet, and a lifestyle exercise just to cleanse everything out. So in order to keep all these systems clean, we're going to, it would also affect the liver. And this is what the HPR is all about, So then the body's always binding molecularly to all these toxic chemicals, and that's what the phytonutrient compounds in plants do. So I don't know if everybody has seen the where I went over the 18 different drops in one presentation. It's on my website, and I'm sure you can find it elsewhere with the maybe perhaps at the APL Go Zoom, the APL Go website. So where I go over and I show all of the different phytonutrient compounds that are so cleansing and have so many other, health benefits that are in every single botanical in these drops. So yeah, make sure you see that, because then you'll be amazed. I didn't have time or the room to put that in this presentation. I thought it was redundant, but just know that all these different ingredients that we're going to go over quickly tonight contain many, many health properties.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Okay, so I know, right? It's amazing. So then I'm going to show you how similar our bodies are to plant fluids. And I'm taking chlorophyll because it's so common in I would say every single botanical on the planet. It's the way the plants will cleanse their own systems. So it's very similar to our own blood, and the heme iron, which refers to the iron in blood. It's very similar to the fluids of chlorophyll and other plant fluids in plants. So as you can see, here's just a basic, outline of what this molecular compound looks like. And inside, at the very inner part of the molecule, it has magnesium. And the difference between plants and people blood, is the iron in our blood. So at the center of our molecule of our heme is the iron. So as you can see, they didn't label all the carbon and hydrogen and oxygen kind of variations of the molecules like they did over here, but you can see how the structure is very, very similar. It's called the porphyrin ring. So, our bodies have multiple trillions of chemicals, and scientists have been so heroic in naming, many of them, but they're impossible to commit to memory. But it's nice to know once in a while you can analyze some of these molecules and see what the scientists have called them. But it's amazing how our blood is so similar to even just one chemical compound in plants called chlorophyll.
And that's why
Alright.
that's why the drops are so bioavailable to us, correct? That closeness that they have in structure that makes the body use them so well.
Yes, we are so very compatible. There are only a few variations in their DNA. In fact, I've said this before in other videos, when our DNA reads the DNA of the plants, then our DNA is able to pick out segments of gene codes that it detects that it needs for itself. So we can, our bodies, at the DNA level, it splices out the gene code segments that it needs to splice into our own DNA. That is how important plants are for us. Talk about compatibility, right? It's just information that it needs and it uses.
And I think that, like, if you take away nothing else from tonight, which there's so much, just that alone to understand how those drops work. A lot of people, they can't grasp that. That is just such an amazing thing to say to people.
Yes, absolutely. Like in other videos, I show the DNA, and the segments of DNA on the double helix, and then I show a comparable plant. And so, I show the genome, how it's mapped out, and you can see that the segments of DNA from both the plant and also human DNA. And so it highlights the segments that we have in common with plants, which is really amazing.
That's great.
Okay, so then we've got, so then I talk more about the chlorophyll compounds, things like that. I'm not going to read every single sentence to everyone. We'd be here for 2 hours. But this is why I put out this information, because this is what you need, everyone, to teach your clients, your customers, and if you're a medical person, for your patients, and even for yourself and your peers, if you're going to be recruiting other people into the company. This is where the science is, and people need to understand the nutritional physiology. Not just physiology, not just nutrition. You've got to put it together. You have to understand how nutrients work at the cell level. And this is what determines whether a person is in a diseased condition, a degenerative health condition, or an optimally functioning body, optimal health functioning. So this is why I put this out here. It's easy reading, it's in lay person's terms, and the technical definitions are just laid out for anyone to understand, even your own customers. Okay. But yeah, once I have found that in my practice, before I retired 13 years ago, if I gave them the science like this, if I taught them about their nutritional physiology, the compliancy rate goes up. Their interest in taking supplements goes way up. They remember to take their supplements, right? The drops have a great advantage, as everyone knows, is because it's this little candy and it tastes great and it's fun to eat, right? No, I don't think many people have trouble taking the drops, but in other types of supplements, it was a challenge until you explain what's going on inside their body. Sometimes people would say, why didn't my doctor ever tell me this? Well, they're not educated. They're not educated in this area. They don't learn this. So it's up to us to provide this information even to our doctors, But lately in recent years, I've noticed that doctors are really getting on the ball and learning more about this.
That's great. Love it.
All right, so we're almost to the second question. I didn't want to spend all that much time on it, but it looks like I did. But I just wanted to again just let people know the different types of immune cells that are at work all the time. So like the phagocytes, they'll go and they'll see something that doesn't belong in the body called an antigen. And it could be a virus, bacteria, it could be any pathogen, anything that causes illness. And this thing will go along and engulf it. Okay, so it engulfs it, spits it out, then takes it over to the T cells. So this killer cell will go in and invade the cell itself and start destroying it from the inside out. It'll eat it away. And pretty soon there's nothing, and it's much more able to be eliminated that way. I mean, this is a detoxification process that goes on in the body all the time. The immune system is busy all the time. So they'll be digesting it, and then they'll just, it'll be reduced to carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen, and possibly nitrogen or whatever, just the very basic elemental components in order for something else to bind to it to allow the body to urinate it out, breathe it out, expel it through skin or the kidneys or any other of those detox organs we talked about. They got the B lymphocytes. And then once these antigens are destroyed, then our bodies will store that information like a library so that if that same pathogen comes along again, it's much faster to just destroy it immediately. And so this is an actual electron micrograph magnified many thousands of times where this T cell is actually just breaking open this abnormal cell and just destroying it. These are really small and they'll attack larger pathogens, but they do the job. And this is just an electron micrograph of red blood cells, white blood cells, and other particulates in the bloodstream. And this is just a phagocyte engulfing a bacterium, and destroying it from the inside out and other things. So yeah, I just thought I'd throw that stuff in there for everyone.
All right. Well, that was great. And I know we spent a little extra time, but I think for a lot of people, it really helps them understand the power of the drops and the power of our bodies and the way that we get rid of things. So,
Yes.
The second question was, is easy. So how does the liver play a role in detoxification? We know it's an important organ.
Oh yeah, it's the organ that stores toxins. So that's why we need to help get rid of those toxins. The body knows how to get rid of it to a certain extent, but when it's overwhelmed, then if the liver starts breaking down, then we're in trouble. We have to maintain the health of the liver. So these phytonutrient compounds, also called phytochemicals, are known to bind to those toxic chemicals molecularly and then help eliminate them. But also they're antioxidants, and so they're neutralizing all these free radicals, just breaking things down and moving things through the circulatory system in the liver. And if the bloodstream contains too much sugar, then the liver will help convert the excess blood sugar to body fat. Once the pancreas does its job and secretes insulin and takes that sugar out of the bloodstream, what does it do with it? The liver gets involved and starts storing it as body fat. So eating a lot of sugar does indeed, cause more body fat. All right. So anyway, I just put the different systems in the body. I always like to remind people of all of that. But as far as microplastics, now they've infiltrated every level of the food chain, and they're known to damage the digestive system and the liver. The liver is not really part of the digestive system, but it's an accessory organ to the digestive system, and it's very important for that. And so, yeah, I mean, any kind of inflammatory response, long-term, short-term, leading to the disease process, we've got to keep those toxins and all these synthetics out of the bloodstream. we can't digest them. They're molecularly similar to fat, so the body has no choice but to try to store them in the fatty tissues, you know. So yeah, I mean, when you ingest a lot of these particulates, or if you eat a lot of seafood, you might be ingesting a lot of microplastics. And so that's going to stimulate the mobilization of these white blood cells, these different types of cells, you know. And so yeah, and we have all these inflammatory responses that produce certain enzymes. Enzymes can be good for breaking things down, like in digestion or in repurposing, and acting as like coenzymes, you know, cofactors for whatever biochemical process the body needs to do. It needs enzymes, but all other enzymes are also the kinds of proteins that respond to inflammatory reactions, and they may continue on producing inflammation if we're not nourished enough and there aren't any nutrients there to signal to tell the DNA what to do. So we need nutrients to help the DNA decide what to do and how to direct things in the body, including reducing inflammation. If something's missing in that area, then it's going to have continuous inflammation in the body. So then, of course, all the white blood cells are coming into the rescue, you know, and they'll remain there. And if your white blood cells, if their DNA is confused, you know, in the genetic codes in their DNA, then they're not going to know when to stop. The communication with the other systems will not get through. I mean, this is all you need to do is nourish your body. That's all you need to do, you know. And that's why when I wrote my books and I created my own nutritional system, I make sure that people choose from every single of the 14 categories. There's no other food system like it in the world, because I decided all other food choice systems were not addressing these phytochemical compounds, and they weren't addressing a wide enough variety of foods. So, and they weren't really paying attention to the phytonutrients, you know, the plant chemicals that are in the plant kingdom. So that's why I created that. And once people started choosing from every single category, then I know that they were getting a huge array of the plant kingdom. You know, I would separate things like herbs and leafy greens and you know, brassica vegetables, all those different kinds of vegetables. People need to choose from all these different systems to get a huge array. That's what I like about the drops. The drops will provide the largest array of phytonutrient compounds I've ever seen in any supplement ever. You know, if you were to try to buy all those foods, you'd overeat, you'd get overwhelmed with too much fiber, right? I mean, it would be unbalanced. So all you're taking in basically are those phytonutrient compounds and the DNA information. So your body knows immediately what to do with that to repair itself at the DNA level. It's so brilliant.
I love it.
Okay, so I talk about inflammatory proteins like the cytokines, you know, those kinds of things can be tested in a laboratory. So if you go to a doctor and they test, you know, if they do blood work on you, they'll find if you're in an inflammatory state, things like the cytokines in there. Okay, so now the body is exposed to all these pollutants, like I said, right? And so the toxins will enter the cells in the liver, the hepatocytes, and they'll be circulating all over the circulatory system in the liver. Okay. And then with these biochemical actions taking place, it'll facilitate the removal of the synthetic foreign toxins and toxic metals just by the phytonutrient compounds in plants. Other antioxidants like certain vitamins and certain minerals definitely as well. Okay, so then I talk about the scientific research. There's a lot of the research showing that there's been a lot of detoxification effects from whole foods and their components, not isolated nutrients. I never advocate that. If you take one phytonutrient compound or one vitamin or one mineral, where's the rest of it? The body can't complete all of its complex, you know, processes. It'll come to a halt. And you know, it's just the body has this hierarchy of a system where it will preserve the vital organs, and you know, the last to go is the brain. You know, you don't want to get that far, you know, so it's important to eat properly. So then, you know, people need to know the relationship between the detoxification functions of the body and all these different states of system malfunctions, and that's the key. You know, what's causing a system malfunction and what nutrient is needed in order to facilitate the detoxification process. And that's what these drops are great for, because they've got all the components needed for eliminating a lot of these toxins. Okay, eliminative channels, we talked about that. Okay, so now the metabolic pathways of detoxification, I had to put these phases in so that you know what goes on. There's a first phase, it's in the liver, and the first defense by the body to transform or neutralize all these substances that aren't produced naturally in the body, all these foreign things. That includes the pharmaceuticals, but also in the enterocytes, the kidneys, the lung, and even the brain, there's a certain enzyme, the P450, and that's responsible for things going wrong, these free radicals able to destroy healthy cells and healthy DNA. It's called oxidation, peroxidation. And any of you who took chemistry, you understand the oxidative process and reduction of several of these outside of the body and inside the body substrates that are acted upon by this enzyme. So this enzyme is the first indication that there is inflammation. And then the phase two, so then the signaling pathway, all these pathways in the nervous system, they get together, and then the body produces an NRF2. It's an enzyme, and it helps regulate antioxidants in the body's detoxification system. So the body goes into this detox mode, or it tries to. And the plant phytochemicals, they scavenge all these free radical reactive oxygen species, which is a group of substances that are produced under stress or under any kind of damage in the body. So then these pathways will try to direct and produce its own antioxidants. If it can't, then it's going to need some help from the outside, which is healthy diet, and regulate this antioxidant enzyme. So yeah, if you're enzyme deficient in this enzyme, then you're likely to be increased susceptibility to drug toxicity, carcinogens or cancer-causing agents, allergens, toxic effects from environmental pollutants, et cetera, et cetera. And then the metallothionein, and it's an amino acid, a cysteine-rich protein. So this is important for heavy metal detoxification. It can bind to metals like mercury, cadmium, lead, and arsenic. It's similar to the phase two and the antioxidant enzyme. So it's capable of scavenging free radicals and helping the immune system do this process, reducing the injury from all these oxidative stress or decreases in defenses. So, when the body undergoes this challenge of trying to get rid of all these toxins, then it goes through these different phases. And this is pretty simplistic. I just thought I'd throw that out there just so people get an idea, of what the body goes through in the detox process.
Yeah, there's a lot that goes on when you think about what the body has to do to get rid of toxins. And a lot of people forget about those heavy metals, which you get from plants, you get it, the foods that we're eating, you get it from the chemicals that are around, even our fillings in our teeth, right? If you've got silver fillings. So it's really important that they understand that that's how the body starts to rid of those things. Okay, so now let's get to the fun stuff. So the next question was, what ingredients in HPR are key for liver detoxification support? Why is this drop of the two so important to detoxing?
Excellent. Yes. All right. So let's get into it. And I had to, those of you who have my book, and you, Susan, I'm so happy you have my book, know how in-depth the descriptions of every plant is, right? So when I do these calls, I pick out why they were chosen for these specific different botanical formulations, right? So in the case of these two drops, so let's take the one for Heifer first, the artichoke. I'm just going to give you skimming the top of the iceberg, as I always say, the tip of the iceberg, but you'll get the idea. So the artichoke, it's got these phytochemicals in it, and I only labeled one in this case because this is the one that increases the bile flow. So the liver produces the bile and it's stored in the gallbladder. So whenever your body needs to digest fats, it secretes the enzymes and breaks down the fats. Fats cannot be broken down in the stomach or in the stomach. So the stomach can digest proteins and it can digest carbohydrates, but not fats. So the fats get pushed out to, inside the liver and through the gallbladder and all these circulatory systems between the organs. So that's how they get in there. Okay, so artichoke also reduces blood cholesterol. We can't talk about the liver without talking about how it's involved in regulating blood cholesterol. So it actually can help utilize fat. So sometimes the bodies, if you have a faster metabolism, or if there are other phytonutrient compounds like in the PFT that have been shown to help the body use fat for energy, then that's how a person can help get rid of their body fat more readily. So it helps in the fat utilization, overall metabolism. It speeds up the metabolic processes, so everything happens at a faster rate, so you're less likely to store body fat, normalizes central system actions, all these other things. So it's also used for eczema and psoriasis. And keep in mind, everything that I'm showing here is proved extensively through peer-reviewed scientific studies in my book. You know, I've spent months on it, and it's turned out to be a very good resource, you know. So
Excellent.
yeah, it's just really handy. So then, of course, it improves how the liver is secreted of the liver secretion of the bile stored in the gallbladder for fast digestion. I already said that. It protects the liver. It has antioxidative properties. You know, it won't allow free radicals to come along and destroy the liver cells, or allow a lot of the synthetics to be stored in the liver, helps break those down. And then all the liver cell functions, improving cholesterol and digestion, all those kinds of things. So that's the artichoke. The avocado, it also helps detoxify the liver. You know, it binds to toxic chemicals, and these are the phytonutrients that it has. You know, I'm tired of repeating them, but I'll just let you all read them. And here's a link that explains what a plant sterol is. It's really fun to look at these side links. Sometimes you get a lot of great explanations. And I already covered plant sterols in one of my videos that I posted on my YouTube channel. So if you haven't seen that, please go over to my YouTube channel. Just type in Mary Esther Gilbert in their search box, and my YouTube channel comes up. And there's one, the latest one I did, or the second to the latest one. The last two, I did one of them is on plant sterols. So, and then we've got, you know, cardiovascular health. The vitamin E and the vitamin D and the K1 in the avocado is just tremendous. It's great for making sure that you've got healthy blood lipids or blood fats, you know, that are circulating properly. You know, blood coagulation. If you injure yourself, it's going to form the clot, dissolve the clot, and not be a problem. It will not, you know, be something that's stuck there forever and obstructing more and more as time goes on the circulatory, you know, the blood and the fluids going through the blood vessel. That can be dangerous. That's, you know, a solution that's inviting a lot of trouble. So then we've got the soluble fiber. You know, avocado has the best kind of fiber. It's not the bulky, tough fiber that people find sometimes hard to digest in some of the other vegetables. It's got the soluble fiber, which is very heart healthy. So it improves the good cholesterol, you know. And if your body's utilizing the body fats, then you're less likely to put on body fat, you know. So it's got all these, and it's been found to improve your basic metabolic index, a basal metabolic index, and that's just a measure of the body fat that's based on your height and weight. That's always not always the best measure if you're fit and have a lot more muscle mass. So your body's going to be heavier for your height. So, but overall, it's a good, you know, indication of your general health. And the dandelion, you know, it's got all these phytonutrients as well. All these phytonutrients, I'm just going to highlight them here. Those are very good for cleansing out the liver, you know, and detoxifying as well. And, you know, just helping dissolve the clots and making sure the blood vessels are soft and pliable and strong so that they don't become rigid and break and cause a lot of clots that cause the atherosclerosis. It prevents a lot of liver diseases, very good for detoxifying the liver. Any kind of poisonings, you know, or if the liver starts if the liver starts becoming more and more toxic, then it forms scarring. If it's damaged, it's going to form scars. So you've got cirrhosis, you know, sometimes it forms, and then inflammation of the gallbladder. If people are eating the wrong fat, those plasticized fats from fried oils are very difficult to digest. We don't have the enzymes to digest them, but yet they get stored in the gallbladder and they start forming the gallstones, you know, that kind of thing. If anyone has ever had those are extremely painful, you know, and it also helps as a digestive stimulant. So it's all, and this is just a small, minute part of what this plant does. You know, it's got all these plants are very pan-systemic, and they address, you know, other issues in other body systems, or nourish, I should say. All right. All right. Is everyone still with me?
Oh yeah, listening intently actually, because this is big.
Okay, all right. I feel like I'm talking really fast.
So much to cover.
I'm racing against the clock here. All right, so we've got the milk thistle, another excellent detox plant. It's got all these. I had to list some of these, phytonutrient compounds. So, I mean, in other countries, people use botanicals as their main, medical system. And so when they say alternative medicine, they're talking about Western medicine. It's inverted here in the United States. So, no one can argue the fact that these plants work because there's so much science behind them now. There's no one ever utters a word of anything derogatory about the botanicals. So, all right. So it has silymarin, and it's used for against the dying of the cells of the liver, alcoholic liver cirrhosis, and then even viral hepatitis. It's an antiviral. All these phytochemical compounds are antiviral, antifungal, antibacterial. These plants have so many compounds in them that they just go through and they clean house. So yeah, and they'll improve the serum bilirubin levels. This is the yellow pigment byproduct from the breaking down of the red blood cells, and that's just a normal detoxification, passing along old blood cells. So it's just there's always a level of the bilirubin in the blood, but when you've got an accumulation of that kind of breakdown, then it's going to cause problems. So it helps it get through the liver and then excrete it out of the body. And then liver tissue regeneration, all these other binding to toxins, let's see, what else have I gotten here? It's used against the amatoxin in poisonous death cap mushrooms. So if you're ever poisoned, a lot of these compounds will help carry out or neutralize these toxins in the body. So you've got, it's good for hangovers,
That's a big one,
um, detoxifying for things like jaundice. That's when the liver becomes more overwhelmed, and it becomes more, it's just can't take a lot of the toxins accumulating in the liver. Toxic kidney damage. I mean, it helps the other organs as well. Nerve disorders, clogged arteries, eczema, which is the skin. That's another exit point for a lot of these toxins, gallbladder conditions. Okay, that is the milk thistle. Then we've got the peach. Again, all these natural organic acids that are so beneficial to help balance the body's acid alkaline balance, so you're not over acidic. If you're too acidic, you're going to be in an inflammatory condition. And then regular consumption. I'm reading ahead trying to say peach pulp, but I'm still on consumption. It improves metabolism and digestion. And it also contains pectin. There's a few fruits out there, the apples, the pears, they contain pectin. This is a very special compound that's known to dissolve a lot of cholesterol, and also to sweep out, to make sure the blood vessels are healthy, move along those slow moving LDLs. The LDLs have their place, but we want a higher HDL, high density lipoprotein in when you're measuring blood cholesterol. And these compounds are anti-inflammatory. Again, very abbreviated here. Raisins, they're also liver cleansing, anti-inflammatory. Their polyphenol compounds are stellar. Catechins, resveratrol, diazinon, and genistein. Those are all amazing. And it's got all these flavonols, where the body converts into bioflavonoids to have healthy blood vessels, and a number of other health benefits, including reducing the risk of cardiovascular disease and getting rid of or lowering the LDL cholesterol. And so it's also great for helping the body, regulate the blood sugar, and helps the pancreas also, making sure that it's still producing insulin and detecting the sugar that's in the bloodstream if it becomes excessive, that kind of thing. The MLS contains a lot more of those kinds of compounds in those botanicals also. And the turmeric root, it's in both formulations. Breaking down fats during digestion, it's great for that. It's anti-inflammatory, so if your white blood immune cells don't know when to stop the inflammatory responses, then the turmeric helps set it straight. Again, there's that DNA communication that's correcting any kind of malfunctioning. And then it supports the pancreas and the glucose uptake into the muscles and the liver. So yeah, the body uses glucose for thinking. It's the main energy source for the brain, and it will charge your muscular efforts very quickly. But it's used up very quickly too. So your body has to dip into body fat stores if you're going to have prolonged exercise, kind of thing. But it's great for helping the liver regulate its glucose processes also. Cholesterol levels, lipid lowering effect, and then of course the curcuminoids or curcumin and these other curcuminoids are great for neutralizing the synthetic chemicals from all the processed foods, the agrochemicals, industrial chemicals, all these different free radicals. It protects the cell membranes in our body, protects the DNA. And yeah, and it's got great essential oils that are very great for antimicrobials, any microbe that causes illness. And it also promotes bile flow from the gallbladder to the duodenum.
Wow.
So that's
That's
the heifer.
Yeah, that's great. And so that obviously leads to the next question. We talk about a detox kit. We have so many great drops. Why did they pair MLS with HPR to create this kit? What's the synergy behind the two that MLS brings?
Yes. So these botanicals do a lot of what the botanicals in the HPR does, but it also has the botanicals with properties that help regulate blood sugar. And like I just said, if a person is eating too many carbohydrates, especially the simple sugars, the white sugars, if they eat too many desserts or cookies and they don't have a lot of the nutrient compounds to regulate those sugars, a lot of these phytonutrient compounds will help, bring down those sugar levels and help your body utilize it and just distribute it before it's able to be stored as body fat. All those mechanisms are in place. So these phytonutrients in these botanicals will improve how your body utilizes sugar. Okay. And so that's important for maintaining the health of your liver and preventing a lot of these toxic reactions that happen in the liver, because the body will produce a lot of stress chemicals, even if you're if you're not under emotional stress, the body is under physical stress, and that itself produces a lot of toxicity as well. So these botanicals are great for maintaining that and really regulating that, so that kind of condition doesn't happen. So I'm going to go over these fast because I'd like to kind of do a little Q&A afterwards if we can. I know people do have questions, and I never have a chance to take a look at those. But the artichoke leaf, it improves the insulin secretion from the pancreas. So it'll help the pancreas take up the blood glucose or too much sugar in the bloodstream. And then it aids the liver, increasing the bile flow, removing obstructions of the bile flow in fats digestion, reduces cholesterol. So it pretty much does a lot of what the other botanicals do, just a little more and a little more for handling the sugar. Okay, and then also helping to detoxify the liver even more so. So if you're in a toxic condition and you're taking these two together, you're going to have a very nourishing effect. So you won't have this radical, severe detoxification problem. I don't ever advocate severe detox programs. They don't work, first of all, and they throw the body into a higher inflammatory state. So it just doesn't work out very well. So this is going to be a nourishing process that helps the body gently bind to anything that doesn't belong in the body and help the immune system destroy anything that doesn't belong in the body and help everything go back to normal.
That's
Okay,
great.
so that's the artichoke leaf. I'm assuming people have had time to read that. So carnation seeds from the clove. So this is one of the highest, what's called ORAC scale, oxygen radical absorption capacity test. That the higher the ORAC scale, the stronger it can detoxify the body and to eliminate any kind of pathogenic organisms, all of the above, all of the organisms that cause illness. And also provide the body, the endocrine system with the precursors for forming all the different hormones the body needs, not just the reproductive hormones, but all the hormones that work with the nervous system to start and stop all the trillions of cellular processes every day. So the clove is way up there. I think it's considered the highest one. And then after that is oregano, and then thyme. Oh, and thyme is actually in this formulation. So yeah. All right. So the carnation will also improve digestion, clean out the liver, stimulate the appetite. And by strengthening the stomach, it means strengthening the tissues and the peristaltic actions that happen in the stomach, production of the hydrochloric acid, all kinds of things that help the stomach properly digest food, because it's such a great microcirculatory, food, then it helps improve the memory. It's going to go through the blood-brain barrier and help improve the circulatory system in the brain. And so all these different phenolic compounds, antibacterial, antiviral, antifungal, anti-yeast, anti-inflammatory. Okay, and then we've got these phenolics, these huge classification of compounds that bind to toxic metals, aluminum, lead, and just neutralize the rancidity that happens or oxidation that happens when we consume the wrong fats. And then fixes the damaging effects of one of the free radicals that can run rampant in the body, the reactive oxygen species. Okay, chamomile. So that's been shown to improve liver, the urinary bladder, all the kidney functions, and aids the digestive system. Very soothing, very anti-inflammatory kind of plant. So it's also been used for gastric ulcers and gallstones. And again, I'm not making any medical claims. This is all backed up very solidly by plenty of scientific evidence, peer-reviewed studies, and those are the most credible. So no one is going to question that, absolutely no one. So the cholagogue action, it stimulates the bile discharge from the liver for digesting fats through the gallbladder, helps lower cholesterol, and it helps regulate blood sugar. Cinnamon bark, very, very similar. Not quite as high on the ORAC scale, but it's still very powerful. So it has all of these wonderful plant fluids that are concentrated in the bark. And these are the essential oils and all these different derivatives of the different types of molecules that can be classified as essential oils. So these are all the different compounds that are very, 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 very compatible with our DNA, with our cells, with our bodies. So they also have these resinous compounds that actually are great for, you wouldn't think that a resin from the bark of a plant would be good for us, but it's actually extremely beneficial. Helps lower blood lipids, prevents cardiovascular disease, prevents the fatty acid oxidation and lipid peroxidation, and prevents tissue death. And then it has the insulin potentiating factor, so it helps the pancreas with its insulin production, and that's going to help lower blood glucose and cholesterol, and increases blood circulation and promotes the tissue regeneration. Coriander seed, another superfood, improves digestion. Coriander seed is actually what grows out of it is the cilantro plant, okay? But the coriander seed is much more concentrated in all of its compounds, even though the cilantro plant will actually bind to aluminum and help prevent these nerve degenerative brain diseases, as time goes on. So it's excellent for that. So the coriander seed probably is that like 1,000-fold, So it improves digestion, it stimulates the bile flow, and it improves the blood glucose, and it prevents high blood sugar, anti-diabetic, anti-mutagenic, anti-anxiety. It's got analgesic and hormonal balancing effects because it acts on the glandular system, and then hypolipidemic, reduces fats in the vascular system, and then the carboxylic compounds, it binds to toxic metals like mercury and allows exit out of the body. Is everyone okay?
So we're
Still with me?
we're getting close to the end of our time. So do you want to work to some questions? People can pull these, and I think is there any one that you
Yes.
want to really cover? Or would you like to? There's a few questions out there that might be kind of fun to ask.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. I just, covering two of these is like a challenge. MLS too, it's pretty long, right? But yeah,
Look at all
please
the
do
amazing
download.
comments. Yeah.
Yeah, especially look at the sweetie, just read that, and then the thyme leaf and the turmeric. So yeah, I mean, there's turmeric on both formulations, but the turmeric for this formulation, I picked out different things just so that you can see how much more it does, and how it goes very well with the HPR. So yeah, absolutely. We don't have to go through the others. They can read this as well.
Yeah, and before we go
Um,
on, there was a question I think would be kind of fills in with a lot of the things you were saying. A lot of people are asking about the gallbladder, and if their gallbladder's been removed, will the drops help them with that? And I think 3 or 4 people have put that into the chat, so I'd love to get that out before we answer any other questions.
yeah, that's a very unfortunate thing to get rid of, but you can still work around it. You have to have a low-fat diet. You can't overwhelm the body with a lot of fats. The gallbladder is the one that digests fats. If you take in a lot of foods that help digest fats, like the raw nuts and seeds, and if you take them in, uh, if you put them in a blender and blend them and drink them, just a little bit at a time, just to not overwhelm the system. The DNA in other systems remembers that information, and the body is amazing in how it adapts. If there's something missing, it will find a way. That's pretty much it. And the research helps in just having people be careful of the types of fats. No fried foods. That's impossible. And just the raw enzyme active foods, the raw nuts and seeds, and a little bit of the animal fats. You do need those fats, both types of fats, plant fats and animal fats, in the right proportions, and even more so if someone doesn't have the gallbladder.
Great, great. And if you were going to say one thing about the two drops together, why do you feel that these two drops, we know they both have amazing compounds, but of the why these two? But just quickly, not because of all the compounds, but what do you love about them together?
Yeah, you're going to have your organs that regulate fats and blood sugar optimized, because all the information is there to correct any malfunctions at the cell level. That's what I like about these. There's so many other things that the MLS, the botanicals in that formulation do, but when they pair it with the HPR, then it's going to really enhance, everything that has to do with the fats and blood sugar.
Excellent. I love it. And one of the questions that I always get when I work with people is, hey, listen, I eat healthy and I exercise, and do I really need to detox? Do I really need these drops in my diet? What would you say to that?
Well, look at all the things that we're exposed to and all the stress. Our bodies, no matter how healthy a person is, the body's still going to produce stress chemicals, and how well it handles those chemicals depends on how well we're nourished. And if we have the genetic information of the plants that can make the corrections if things go wrong in our DNA, then it's really great to have right then and there to make that correction. Our immune system is very good about, the nervous system and the hormonal system. They all patrol, they all look for certain molecules to do the repair work. And if they're missing, then it's not going to happen. A person has always, when clients come to me and they say, well, I'm eating healthy, yet they have these health issues. So when I get to the bottom of it, I find they're not eating as healthy as they should. People should have 50 to 75% of their diet raw foods, enzyme active, water content, the right types of vitamins and minerals in the right molecular structures. Once the food is processed or overcooked, then those things are no good. They're just basic components that the body has to put together and has to make an enzyme to make it all work. So raw foods are very important, but also animal derived proteins are so important, and also the both types of fats, animal fats and plant fats. A healthy lifestyle, managing your stress, getting your sleep, that is so important. Staying hydrated, drinking water. Nothing else hydrates. A person can drink anything else, and yet it has a net dehydrating effect on the cells in the body. So drinking water as well is very important.
That's great. That's great. We're kind of running up against our hour. One last quick question. We've answered everything in the chat so far. People have made some great comments about, the importance of water and those type of things. But, there are a lot of detoxing things. There are detox teas and there are detox herbs. Why the lozenge over a detox tea or a detox herb? What makes it so compelling to do these drops as opposed to something else?
Yeah, if you take an isolated herb, you're getting a limited array of the plant compounds that are in that one herb. These drops have, as you can see, many different arrays of phytonutrient compounds from which to choose to make any kind of corrections or cleansing or anything it needs to do. So you've got to have a variety of foods in your diet. And so if you're just going to take one herb here and one herb there, then it's not going to do it. Drinking a tea actually destroys the enzymes, because it's hot water. Anything over 120 degrees, 212 degrees is boiling. So 120 degrees is just the right temperature of what a hot cup of tea would be, but it's still going to destroy those enzymes. So it diminishes. You can brew some plant concoctions and allow those phytonutrients to seep through. If you only bring it to a boil briefly and let it stay overnight, then it's going to, infuse into the water a lot of those compounds. But sometimes you can make maybe 3 or 4 different brews from that same group of herbal tea bags, like I do. I just love anything botanical, but yeah, I mean, it's not going to be as effective as if you had eaten the raw plant. Everybody likes the stevia. I don't advocate the extract, but the root itself is and the leaves, are great if you eat them raw, but not if you're putting them in a tea or if it's been dehydrated and into a powder. It has to be processed in order to stop the enzyme action and to prevent to kill off any kind of microbes that might be living in there. I mean, the food industry, the supplement industry is very strict about making sure everything is pure before they allow these companies to bottle the products or capsulize or whatever. But yeah, you're going through a lot of this kind of processing that can diminish the and greatly reduce the variety of phytonutrient compounds. So you've got all of the information from the DNA and here's the organelles here that I was going to show. Here's all the different kinds of organelles inside of a cell, protein manufacturing sites, energy production sites. Here's the DNA inside the nucleus. I mean, you've got a lot of activity going on. We've got all of those components that are so compatible that our body can utilize them almost directly for its own same organelles in our own cells. That's how compatible it is. So, we've got so much advantage in the drops. They're viable, they're enzyme active, they're not they're very well preserved as far as the actions and activities that are in the botanicals.
It's amazing. It's just what an incredible thing to have in our toolbox to help people and help ourselves.
Yes, yes.
So,
It's the technology, that keeps the nutrients active like that.
all right, so we pretty much answered the question. There was a very kind of a difficult question about the NFR2 pathways, which I think would be too difficult to get into it at this point in the conversation. But what else would you like to say about the detox kit? If you were going to talk to somebody, why should they purchase this kit? I mean, obviously we've heard all these things, but what's that quick thing that someone can say, hey, listen, this is why you need this kit?
Yes. Okay. So, not everybody eats optimally for various reasons. There's a lot of life that gets in the way. I understand that. So if a person is not going to adhere to the kind of food intake that I just outlined, then they're going to be exposed to a lot of these toxins. Their body's going to be undergoing a lot of stress chemicals from stress, and it's going to be cumulative. And as time goes on, the aging process accelerates and systems start breaking down. So this is the way to prevent a lot of that. And yes, you do have to eat right still. These aren't the be all and end all, but they go a long way toward repairing a lot of what's wrong. So if you want to maintain all of those organ systems down at the micro level, then this is a great way to provide your body with what it needs. That's why I like this kit, because you're going to be cleansing the body on a regular basis. You won't feel a drastic detox, effect unless you're already in a very, very toxic condition and you start taking several of these drops a day. Then it's going to clean house. You're going to feel something. But if you do it gradually and you make sure that you're eating the right foods and drinking, like I said, everything, doing all of that as much as you can, so that it will give you a higher quality of life. It's a matter of how much are you willing to invest in yourself to have the high quality life that you deserve.
That's great. And it's really, again, health is wealth, right? Which is so true. And someone
Yes.
quickly asked, how long can you do this? Can you do this every day? Can do you need to stop at some point, or can you keep taking these 2 drops to support your health and well-being?
Absolutely. Our bodies replicate themselves. All the cells replicate at different rates, depending on the body system. The cell turnover rate for skin is pretty rapid in a few days. And then our bone matrix, our nerve cells, all these skeletal structures, they'll take a little longer. Our connective tissues will take a little longer. So anything from 2 weeks to 90 days is the cell turnover rate in the body. And what does it need for perpetuating the proper replication of our old cells into the new cells that are forming all the time in the body? It needs the nutrients. It needs all of these nutrients constantly. And if you're not eating at least 3 healthy meals a day, don't overeat, balance your energy output with exercise and all that. But nourishing your body every few hours is critical. And so if a person has to skip meals once in a while, it's not going to hurt you. But if you do that as a habit, then you're going to dip in order to have the energy that the body needs to complete all those biological processes. It requires more energy than it does to exercise. So a lot of the food that you take in are utilized to maintain the system, and if you don't have enough of those nutrients in there, it's going to start degenerating and breaking things down.
Wow, that's great. Well, this has been an amazing conversation. Thank you so much for going over these kids. Everybody out there, give Mary Esther a great round of applause. You made it easy to understand, and this is such a great opportunity to introduce APL Go to those people who are looking to do a little spring cleaning. They want to, detoxify their life and really support their body in a great way. You've really given us a lot to work with on why these drops are so special.
I'm glad. I'm really glad. So one more thing, if you want more resources, here's my books, and also, check out my YouTube channel. There's a lot of free educational videos there, and I'm posting new things, pretty constantly. And it's all duplicated in my Rumble channel if you like the Rumble channel. But yeah, this is pretty much where you want to go, holisticchoices.com, and just check it out.
Okay, great. And your website, in case they want to go to your website.
Oh, it's holisticchoices.com.
You have some amazing videos up there of past APL Go calls, and I'm sure they're on your YouTube channel as well, but it's just a wealth of information. So, those of us
Yeah.
that are looking for that stuff really appreciate all that you do and what you give. So thank you so
Yeah.
much. It's been great.
Thank you. It was nice to see you, Susan.
Good to
Hi,
see you. Thank you,
everybody.
everybody, for everybody that's out there. Have a great night, and share this
Bye,
kit.
everybody.
It is going on sale. Buy one, get one free. So take advantage of it. Thanks, everybody.
All right. Okay. Good night, everybody.
Bye.